A man so massive, even the world seemed too small for him. 7 feet tall, 520 pounds. He could drink 119 beers in one sitting, and once ate 12 steaks and 15 lobsters in one meal. His hands were so enormous, he had to dial phones with a pencil.
Take a look at the size of that mitt, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. It could...
Saddam Hussein threatened to shoot him. The FBI had a secret file on him. But behind the fame, there was pain. A tragic ending at just 46. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. The full story is even more unbelievable. To understand the legend of André the Giant, we have to go back in time to a small village in France where a child was born so massive that the world simply wasn't built for him. Born André René Roussimoff on May 19th, 1946 in Moulins, France. He was normal-sized at birth, but something strange started happening. By age 12, he was already 6 feet 3 inches and over 200 pounds. His body wasn't just growing, it was expanding at a terrifying rate. His growth quickly became something unnatural. His family called him Dédé because his little sister couldn't pronounce his name, but nothing else about André was small. His hands were so massive, he could fit a silver dollar inside his rings. His feet grew so large that no shoe store carried his size. And everyday life? It was already becoming impossible. He was too big for a school bus, his legs wouldn't fit in the tiny seats, but he still had to get to school. That's when his neighbor, Samuel Beckett, the famous playwright, stepped in. Beckett, best known for waiting for Godot, would sometimes give André a ride to school in the back of his truck. At home, his life wasn't much easier. His father was a hard man. He expected André to work the family farm, but André had other plans. At 14, he dropped out of school and left home, chasing something bigger. He wanted to see the world. He never told his parents where he was going, but 5 years later, at 19, he knocked on his parents' door. André had changed so much that his own parents had unknowingly watched him wrestle on TV without realizing they were seeing their own son. But he had never forgotten where he came from. The boy they had last seen at 14 had transformed into a near 7-foot giant. His hands, his face, his voice, everything had changed. But André hadn't forgotten. His father once mocked him, saying he'd never afford a Rolls-Royce. And yet, when he returned, he parked a Rolls-Royce right in front of the house. But this was just the beginning, because the world had no idea what was coming next. André's size alone made him impossible to ignore. But his journey to becoming wrestling's biggest attraction started with one lucky break. At just 17, he was discovered by a wrestling promoter. He had never considered wrestling before, but it was the perfect stage for someone like him. He trained hard, and by the time he was 19, he was ready for the ring. But Japan is where he truly became a star. In Tokyo, they called him Monster Roussimoff. He was a sensation. The Japanese fans had never seen anything like him. They called him the 8th wonder of the world. But there was a problem. He was big, but was he big enough? Wrestling promoters knew they could make him even more legendary. They started a lie that would follow him for life. Officially, André was billed as 7 feet 4 inches, taller than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But in reality, he was 6 feet 9 3/4 inches when measured at age 24. The illusion worked. Fans believed he was larger than life, and Vince McMahon Sr. had a master plan. André was too big to stay in one place. If he wrestled in the same city too often, fans would get used to him. So McMahon sent him from territory to territory, making sure every crowd saw him as a mythical figure. He traveled from New York to Tokyo, from Paris to Toronto, and it worked. By 1974, André was in the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest paid wrestler in the world, earning $400,000 a year. In today's money, that's over $2.6 million annually. He was unstoppable. His fame grew beyond wrestling. He became a pop culture icon, appearing on TV, in movies, and in ads. But fame had a price, and soon André would begin to feel its weight. To understand André the Giant's strength, you have to forget everything you know about normal human limits. This wasn't a guy who spent hours in the gym lifting weights or sculpting his body. He never had to. His strength was just there. How strong was he? Well, one of his favorite pranks was moving cars while his friends were inside bars. Imagine walking out of a bar and finding your car wedged between two buildings, or suddenly facing the other direction. That was Andre's idea of a joke. If he wanted to, he could literally move your car with his bare hands. And he did, just to mess with his friends. And his appetite? That was legendary. He could sit down for a meal and put away 12 steaks, 15 lobsters, 6 roast chickens, and wash it all down with an entire gallon of wine. And that was just one sitting. But if you think that's wild, his drinking stories are even crazier. André once downed 6 bottles of wine before a match, and no one noticed. But that's nothing compared to 108 beers in 45 minutes while waiting for a flight. He walked onto the plane like nothing happened. Wrestler Gerald Briscoe recalled a road trip where they bought 2 cases of beer. By the time they arrived, not a single can left. In Kansas City, a bartender called last call expecting André to leave. Instead, he ordered 40 vodka tonics and drank them all. The bar emptied, the sun rose, and there he was, still standing at 5 a.m. Even the NFL took notice. The Washington Commanders were interested in recruiting him as a defensive end. Of course, it was mostly a publicity stunt, but can you imagine a 520-pound giant charging down the field at full speed? André wasn't just strong, he was superhuman. But for all the larger-than-life stories, there was something no one saw. Behind the jokes, the pranks, the fame, his body was breaking down, and soon the pain would become unbearable. André the Giant was a warrior inside the ring, but his toughest battles happened outside of it. He fought boxers, dictators, and his own body. And the worst part, he knew he was losing. Take Chuck Wepner, the real-life boxer who inspired Rocky. He thought his fists could handle the giant. The bell rang, Wepner circled, threw a few jabs, and then, boom, André grabbed him, lifted him like a toy, and tossed him straight out of the ring. Wepner barely crawled back before the count of 20. The crowd roared, but André, he just smirked, as if to say, "Is that all you've got?" But nothing compared to his most dangerous match. Iraq, 1971. André was set to wrestle an Iraqi native, Adnan Al-Qaisi, in front of thousands. It was just another match until a terrifying message came from Saddam Hussein himself. If the giant wins, shoot him. Al-Qaisi got the message. That night, André took the loss and the crowd erupted in gunfire. Not at him, but in celebration. André left Iraq in one piece, but he never forgot the threat. Yet the fight André could never win was against his own body. Years of wrestling and the effects of gigantism were catching up. His joints throbbed, his back screamed in pain, and one morning his ankle simply snapped just from getting out of bed. But wrestling promoters, they smelled opportunity. They turned his real injury into a storyline, cashing in on his suffering. Still, André found ways to have fun. He was a prankster at heart. His favorite gag? Letting out a 30-second fart on his opponents mid-match. No one could escape. And if you use too much baby oil, like Randy Savage, André will hate you. By the mid-1980s, André was trapped in a body that was breaking down. Years of wrestling and acromegaly had left him in constant pain. His spine, knees, and joints were failing. Even standing for too long was a struggle. He underwent spinal surgery just to keep going, wearing a back brace under his singlet so he could stay in the ring. But still, he refused to quit. In WrestleMania III, despite his pain, he faced Hulk Hogan in one of the most legendary matches in wrestling history. Every move hurt, but the show had to go on. Doctors urged him to get treatment, but André refused. He knew he didn't have long to live. His response? "If this is how God made me, I will stay this way." Despite his fame, he longed for something simple, to be normal. He once said, "I would give much money to spend just one day as a man of regular size, to drive a sports car, walk down Fifth Avenue, and just blend in." But the pain never stopped. He struggled to walk, sit, and even sleep. The FBI had kept a file on André due to his frequent international travels, unusual size, and massive fan following. Some rumors even suggested that his name had been flagged due to his connections with powerful, controversial figures around the world. In 1993, André traveled to France for his father's funeral. Days later, in a hotel room he had once stayed in as a young wrestler, he passed away in his sleep. His body was so large no crematorium in France could handle it. It had to be flown to the US. His ashes weighed 17 pounds, a final reminder of his immense size. His ashes were scattered across his North Carolina ranch, where he had found peace. André became the first ever inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame. His life was both legendary and heartbreaking, but he will forever be remembered as wrestling's true eighth wonder of the world. And that's the real story of André the Giant. But there's so much more to uncover. Watch this next video for more insane stories. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.